Welcome to Mr. Brandt's 5th grade Everyday Math Review. In this video, it's lesson 2.12, and we're going to be doing some more division. If you watch 2.11, we talked about at our school, we focus more on the U.S. traditional long division. So I'm going to do a regular U.S. traditional long division, and then after that, I'll jump in and do a partial quotients. Partial quotients, and for the practice it's basically the same thing, so I'm not going to do a practice example today. The problem that we're going to start with today is 1526 divided by 14, and I'm not going to write out the whole thing today. But does McDonald's serve cheeseburgers daily raw? That's kind of a pattern we follow. So we've got D for divide, then we move on to M for multiply. Does McDonald's serve? That's going to be our subtraction. Cheese, and the cheese is to compare. I'm just going to go ahead and write that out. Burgers daily is going to be our bring down. So bring down. And then our R, what color did I use for that? We'll go with this one. R. So that's our repeat, or our remainder. So with our divide, we're going to start with seeing if we can get 14 from 1. How many 14s can we get from 1? We can't get any. Remember, for our first one, if we start with a 0, we can go ahead and look at our first two here then. So 15 divided by 14, if I had 15 apples, I could get one group of 14. Then we multiply, so we take our number from the top, the 1 times our divisor of 14, and we get 14. After that we subtract, so 15 subtract 14 is 1. That takes us to compare. This number after we subtract has to be less than our divisor. Then we bring down, so we're going to bring down the 2, and since we brought down, we're going to go ahead and repeat, go back up to the top to divide. I'm going to go ahead and put my division symbol in here. So now it's 12 divided by 14. Well, if we have 12 apples, we can't make a pile of 14. So I'm going to go ahead and go back through that process again. So 0 times 14 is 0. Then we subtract. 12 subtract 0 is 12. Compare. 12 is less than 14, so then we're going to bring down the 6. So that gives us 126, and since we brought down, we have to repeat, so we're going to go back through and divide. So 126 divided by 14. So 126 divided by 14. Oops, wrong color. 126 divided by 14. For this, I'm going to come off here to the side. I'm going to figure that out. So I know that 14 times 10 is 140. So I'm going to go ahead and try 8, just to check. So 4 times 8 is 32, and 1 times 8 is 8, plus 3 is 11. That gives me 112. But I think I can get one more 14 onto that. So I have two options. I can either do 14 times 9, or I could add 14 to this one, whatever method you would choose. So this would be 6 to 1, 126. That matches that. Or if we did this one, 4 times 9 is 36. 1 times 9 is 9, plus 3 is 12, 126. It's the same thing. If you add, you just have to make sure that you remember that there's 8 14s plus this 1 to give you 9. So 126 divided by 14 is 9. Then I'm going to do my multiplying, which I already did over here. But 9 times 14 is 126. And I subtract, I get 0. There's no more to bring down, and there's not a remainder. If this had been a remainder, we could go ahead and put it up here. But it's not, so we can leave it like that. So that's our sample for traditional. If you're looking for partial quotients, I'm going to do that right now. So give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So partial quotients, we're going to do 6,125 divided by 44. And I showed you this in the previous video, but we're going to do it again for this one, and it's times 2 times 5 times 10 times 20 times 50, and we'll see if we need to go bigger than that. So all of these are times 44. Our divisor is what we use over here. So 44 times 2 is 88, and 44 times 5, I'm going to go ahead and do that one right here just to make sure I get it right. So 4 times 5 is 20, 4 times 5 is 20, plus 2 is 22. So times 5 is 220. Times 10 is easier to think about because we just need to add a 0 at the end. So that's going to be 440. And this is 6,000, so we can keep going. Times 20, we're just going to add a 0 at the end of that. So that's 880. Times 50, we're going to add a 0 at the end of this answer. So that's 2,200. And I could keep going. So times 100, that's going to be 4,400 because we just add a 0 at that one. Then after 100, we're going to go 200 times 200. So we'll add a 0 at the end of this one. That'll be 8,800. And that's too big. So here's our numbers we're going to use with this. So using our chart, the closest we can get here is 4,400. So 4,400, and our partial quotient then is going to be 100. Then after that we subtract. 5 minus 0 is 5, 2 minus 0 is 2. I'm going to have to do some borrowing here. 11 minus 4 is 7. 5 minus 4 is 1. So that leaves us with 1,725. So if we look over here, the closest we can get to that is 880. And so our partial quotient for that is 20. Then we subtract 5. Can't do 2 minus 8. Can't do 7 minus 8. So it'll be 16 and 2. So 12 minus 8 is 4. 16 minus 8 is 8. And this is just a hair too big. So I'm going to go with, the next one I can go with is 440. And that is 10. Then we subtract. So it'll be 504, 405. So the closest we can get to that is 220. And that's going to be a 5. And we'll subtract that. I know I'm kind of going fast here. You can pause it to catch up if you need to. Oops. That was silly. I wasn't thinking. I was thinking ahead. So 5 subtract 0 is 5. Here we go. 10 subtract 2 is 8, and 3 subtract 1 is 1. So 185. So we'll do 2, so that's 88, and we'll subtract that one. I'm going to run out of space here. So 5 subtract 8, can't do it. 8 subtract 8, I can, but I'm going to come over here. So it'll be 17, and then 15. So 15 minus 8 is 7. 17 minus 8 is 9. So I can use the 88 again, which is another 2. When I subtract this time, boy, it's getting tiny down here. 7 subtract 8, I can't do that. So 17 subtract 8 is 9. And then 8 subtract 8 is 0. So that gives me a remainder of 9. And I can't get any 44s from 9. So I have remainder 9. And since I can't do any more dividing, now I add up the blue. So 100, 120, 130, 135, 137, 139. So our answer is 139, remainder 9. Thanks for your patience with this video. We have a great rest of your day.